What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video. I wanted to do a quick intro for a couple reasons. First and foremost, I want to let you guys know that I'm only covering the boss syndrome part of this update in this video. There will be a second video later on that will have the rest of this update covered in it. Reason being is I recorded all of it at the same time, and it was about 40 minutes of footage, and I refused to upload a 40-minute long video to YouTube for you guys because, one, I don't think any of you guys want to watch a 40-minute video, and two, it just doesn't make sense. So we're not going to do that all in one video. This will all be the boss syndrome information. Now, beyond that, the other thing I want to talk about is, as of the recording of this, we are at about 285 subscribers, and we're about 48 hours from New Year's. So I'll make you guys a deal. If we hit 300 subscribers by New Year's, so in the next 48 hours, 15 more subscribers, then we will do a full boss syndrome pull video. That will be a celebration of 300 subs. I have a ton of Google Play gift cards from Christmas that I can use, and it will be awesome. So if you guys want to see that content and you want to see me either get the shaft or you want to see me get lucky, hopefully it's the latter. If not, we'll see, but have to hit 300 subscribers. So if you haven't already done so, make sure that you subscribe to the video so you don't miss another daily update. And I hope you guys enjoy today's video. I know it's on the longer side, but what can you do whenever we got these large updates like this? It is what it is. Oh, and enjoy the new intro. Peace. What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and today is the day the boss syndrome characters have arrived. Is the meta completely and utterly destroyed? Are these things the most OP thing that has been released since Seven Nights? Well, let's find out. Before we do all that, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Helps me out a ton as a new YouTuber, and let's jump right into it. So, all of our questions have been answered, the maintenance is over, and we now know what the situation is as it pertains to the boss syndrome characters. So, as we kind of assumed, there is going to be a separate banner, which for those of you who may be new to the game, we have not had separate banners for a long time, which I know is kind of a strange situation for a gacha game to only have one banner in the form of our unified banner, which it's also added Goro, which we'll talk about a little bit here today. But first we want to start off with, obviously, the boss syndrome characters. So let's go ahead and jump into the banner and talk about the rates and the characters themselves. So first and foremost, this banner is going to be very, very similar to what you would expect from a collaboration banner as far as the mileage goes, which the mileage is going to be 20 multis total. So definitely a discount from the 30 that is on the unified banner, thankfully. And then if we take a look at the rate here, your rates are going to be 1.8% for a Fest character, with the rate up for the Boss Syndrome Orochi and the Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal. So looking down here, there is going to be a small pool of other Fests in there, which is slightly disappointing. It's a lot of characters that you probably don't want to pull that are just going to be fodder memories for things like your Seven Nights. So if you're pulling on this banner, then don't expect to be getting a whole lot of value out of anything that is not going to be the BS characters. But let's go ahead, talk about the BS characters themselves, and we'll then jump into the cards. So first character we'll take a look at here is going to be Orochi. Now, I'm going to preface this with, our translations were correct, so yay, thank you Templo for that. But the other thing I wanted to make sure that I brought up is we're not going to be taking a look at the live skills for these characters, because I feel like we've done that for the past like 3 or 4 days. So if you don't know what their skills are yet or what they look like, check out any one of the last like 3 videos in the last 3 days and you can see that. So first we're just going to talk about what the skills actually do. So on his S1, it is going to be decreasing damage received by 50% for 3 seconds with a PvP exclusive of disabling the target's active skills for 2 seconds when a successful skill guard included ends. So that is going to be your S1. On your S2, you are going to have increases attack by 30% for 7 seconds with a 50% chance to ignore the target's guard upon landing a successful attack. Next up, on the S3, you're going to have hyper armor for 3 seconds, and this can be used while being attacked, so it's an interrupt. So that is going to be your skills. Moving on to the core effects. We'll go ahead and scroll down here and look at the exclusive ones. So he's going to increase his attack by 4% and penetration by 200 for 5 seconds for each attack. That stacks up to 5. And then gains 10% of power when combo count is 20 or above, with a cooldown of 20 seconds. So very strong core. It's got a lot of defense shred with the penetration there that stacks up to 5, so very, very strong. And then the Orochi syndrome, which is his last exclusive core, is going to have a 50% chance to reset the cooldowns of blast active skills upon landing his skills. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. So yeah. Upon landing that skill, he'll have a 50% chance to reset the cooldown of his blast actives, which is his S1 and his S2. Those are going to be his blast skills. That has a cooldown of 20 seconds, by the way. So, and then finally, he has the Boss Syndrome exclusive core, which is going to give 1% power every 0.3 seconds in guard stance. So while guarding, he's going to gain power charge. And then his PvP exclusive is going to give him super armor for 2 seconds when accumulated attack received, guard included, reaches 5 times. So that's going to have a cooldown of 20 seconds. We already knew all this. We've already talked about all this. So we already knew what to expect with these skills. I will say that he looks very, very scary for PvP. I've already seen people who have reported maxed out ones in the JP server, and from the looks of it, from the sounds of it, from everything I'm hearing from the usual sources for the championship-oriented player base, these guys are ridiculous. So this is going to be your Boss Syndrome Orochi, and of course the leadership skill we already knew increases boss fighters' attack by 45% and power charge rate by 20%. So that is BS Orochi. Let's move on to Omega Rugal. Omega Rugal, his leadership skill increases attack of all fighters by 45%. And then on his skills, he is going to have increases attack by 35% for 5 seconds. And then PvP exclusive disables the target's roll for 3 seconds when a successful skill, guard included, ends on his S1. So that is what you are looking at with the S1. Again, we knew all this stuff. Very thankful that those translations were correct. On his S2, we're going to have hyper armor for 3 seconds, and then a 40% chance to reset the cooldowns upon a successful attack with a cooldown of 18 seconds. And then this can be used while being attacked. It's an interrupt, so yeah, they both have interrupts. Yay. Next up, we're going to have the God Press, which is increasing attack by 27% for 10 seconds, and then the PvP exclusive is a 60% chance to remove the target's super armor or hyper armor on landing a skill on a target with super armor or hyper armor, which is ridiculously strong. On God Press, it's even scarier. On his God Press, it's absolutely devastating. So there you go. That is going to be his skills. And then, of course, the finishers and so on and so forth. Let's look at the cores. So as far as the cores go, let's go ahead and scroll down here and look at the exclusive ones. He becomes immune to stun and deals bleed damage equal to 80% of attack to the target upon landing a skill. This is the big one. This is the one that is going to hold all of his PvE viability. And really, this is his best core in my opinion. This is where a lot of his damage ramp comes from. If you guys go into Championship and see this guy shredding things, know that a lot of it boils down to this core in particular just being kind of busted. Next up, Omega Rugal Syndrome. Decreases the target's damage dealt by 25% for 7 seconds and increases their damage received by 25% for 7 seconds upon landing an active skill, with a cooldown of 20 seconds. Next up is going to be the Boss Syndrome exclusive, which is the same as you will see on Orochi. Gains 1% power every 0.3 seconds in guard stance. And then finally, the PvP exclusive. He's going to gain super armor for 2 seconds when accumulated attack received, guard included, reaches 5 times. So basically that means that if he's getting comboed, then he is going to proc a super armor to interrupt that potentially. So very, very, very good as far as cores are concerned. So yeah, that is going to be your Omega Rugal. Very good, very strong. Both these characters are really good. So this isn't where the story ends with these two. we are going to, after we talk about the cards, which is the next part of this video and a bigger point to be made as far as it concerns whether or not you should be pulling for these two. So let's go ahead and hop into those before we get into the should you summon and the overall kind of thoughts on these guys. So here we are on the card banner for the Boss Syndrome characters, guys, and I wanted to talk about these because they are going to make a big impact into whether or not I think that you guys should be jumping in on this banner or not. So we'll get to these first, and then we'll talk about the overall kind of thoughts on this. So when it comes to the mileage, you are looking at, again, the same rates as you would expect to see from a collab. So a 15 mileage for the Pity, and that is actually really, really nice. So cool that they did that. When you look at the rates here, you have a 2.7% chance to be pulling a 6-star card, whether it is going to be any of the new set cards, whether it's going to be the new finishers, or whether it's going to be the new option card. You'll see that there are different rates, and they've actually got these set at the 0.3, and then they've got both of the finishers and the option card at the 0.6. Down here, you'll also see some other cards that are going to be in the pool, but those really don't matter. So let's talk about these here real quick. You'll be able to see that Orochi now has a 3 PG finisher. He's always had one that you can get from the Epic Quest, but this is, I guess, nice for players that have struggles with the Epic Quest. I know there's still people out there that ask me about it, and there was actually somebody the other day that had mentioned that they hoped that they had another option for him other than getting it from the Epic Quest. So I guess it is an issue for some people. So yeah, there you go. That solves that problem. Nice thing about this card, and the nice thing about the Rugal one as well, is you can attach these to their regular variants. So it's nice that they did that. So there you guys go. You have a new option as far as finishers are concerned for these characters. So yeah, 3 PG card, kind of necessary if you're going to make it in the meta, if you're going to be relevant in either live modes or PvE. So very cool that they've got these in here. We'll go ahead and take a look at Kaiser Phoenix here, which is going to be Omega Rugals. And like I said, you can attach these to the regular Rugal as well. So yeah, pretty cool. Now, the one thing you will notice about these, though, is they are going to have their own effects down here at the bottom. And these are pretty much becoming standard fare for new finishers. I've found that kind of started with the Kulo one, and since then we have been seeing this more and more. But basically, for the Orochi one, he is going to decrease his damage received by 12% for 10 seconds upon using the effect. So, pretty cool. Nice that he has a little bit of damage mitigation in his kit with this card, so kind of neat. Not anything super game-breaking. On Kaiser Phoenix here, you are going to have an effect as well, which is recovers HP by 8% upon using the Kaiser Phoenix. So he has a little bit of sustain with this, so that's nice. But yeah, again, nothing too busted on these, thankfully. They've already got enough working for them. But those are going to be the finishers. Let's move on to the real stars of this banner, though, and that is going to be the new set and the new option card. So look at this set here, guys. So when you see this set, right, first thing that might come to mind is you'll go, okay, well, that'll be really good on the Boss Syndrome characters. You'll look down here, you'll see the effect, which the effect is the increases boss fighters attack by 14%, with a PvE exclusive of giving 2% power when a boss fighter uses an active skill with a cooldown of 1 second, and then a PvP exclusive of decreasing damage received by 20% if a boss fighter's HP is 50% or more. And all these cards are going to have the same increases for their base, and then of course the same effect for the set's effect. So, this set, if you don't already see it, is going to make regular boss fighter characters absolutely busted, if they weren't already busted. For instance, Lady Zero with this set. You put this set on Lady Zero, she is already shredding most things in PvE. You give her this, with this, man, her issue before was the fact that her power charge is kind of sus. And so, therefore, you give her this on top of the attack buffs that she will be getting. I'll tell you what, she is going to be a monster. If you go in here and you take a look, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, and then we'll kind of move back on. But if you look at some of these boss fighters here, and we'll take a look at her since we're talking about her. Go down here, boss fighter. Boom. So there you go. All these characters that are bosses from the main series, they're going to have this tag. So therefore, we'll get to you in a minute, Zero, but therefore, this set, very valuable. In my opinion, there is a case to be made if you are not going to be going for these guys, which we'll talk about why or why not, as far as why you should or shouldn't be going for these guys in a minute, like I said. But this banner here in particular might be the way to go. So that is going to be the set. It's really, really strong. Unfortunately, good luck with these rates here. It just, unless you're getting fairly lucky, I do see it being kind of tough to pull all these, especially once you've got the first one or two of them. You might end up with dupes and things like that, but you can exchange them in the exchange shop if you have multiples. Keep that in mind if you want to. Next up, Meaning of Hell. So this is the option, and this is probably, to my mind, one of the best option cards in the entire game. It's an exclusive option, so you can only equip one to a specific character at a time. But take a look at this. So increases attack by 5%. And then decreases skill cooldowns by 1.2. So that is going to be a CDR reduction and an attack increase. We've seen this very recently with a lot of different cards. But down here, 50% chance to increase your attack by 13% for 5 seconds upon landing a strike skill, with a cooldown of 15 seconds. That is really good. That is really, really good. In fact, I've already heard reports people taking this card into different dungeons and doing tens of millions of more damage than they normally would because they just added this card to their characters. So this right here, do not sleep on this. This option card, incredibly strong. I would say that this banner in general is where a ton of value is if you are not somebody that feels like going in on the BS characters and putting in a ton of effort to get memories. This is really good. You might end up getting a bunch of different finishers, but the rest of these, really great for a lot of different things. So that is going to be the card banner. So pretty great. Now let's go ahead and move on. Should you summon on this? Well, let's find out. So a key factor in your decision-making process for these guys is obviously going to come down to the stones. And for those of you who do not know, they are going to have their own exclusive stones. And the way this event is going to work is basically if you pull, say, Rugal and a dupe, then you awaken him, you will be able to get a selection box here from this event mission screen in order to get the corresponding stone to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish with him. Probably the attack one. I would assume the attack one. But when it comes to these stones, this is another Seven Knights situation with these stones where they kind of bust the characters that are already really strong in general. So you're going to see here at max, I'll put these up on screen because I can't show you all of these stones, but I do have photos of them maxed out. And you'll be able to see that it is at max level, a 10% increase to the stat of choice. And then, of course, you'll see down here the base stats of some of these effects. So, yeah, these are really strong. They're basically going to make these characters kind of the new Seven Knights. The new Seven Knights sounds kind of weird to say considering we just got done with Seven Knights. But, yeah, so there's extra added value in going in on this banner with these stones. And it's really nice that they did this for people who do want to invest into this because it does kind of add a lot of value to your pulls. But at the same time, it also sort of takes these characters and turns them up to 11 with their power creep. So I'll tell you guys right now, whenever we talk about characters being busted, yeah, we can talk about the power creep all we want, but really it seems like the stones are where the power creep is really taking effect. And it seems like the stones themselves are what is making these characters that are coming out that seem OP just absolutely bonkers. So I wanted to make sure I talked about the stones. They have obviously the same time limit of 6 days on them as the characters themselves. So that being said, should you summon the Boss Syndrome, Orochi, or Omega Rugal? And in my opinion, if you are a new player, if you are someone who just got into the game, maybe you missed the Seven Knights collab, and you want to pick up really strong characters, say you're re-rolling then I say that yes, you should be going for these guys 100%. If you want something that is going to be future-proof and is going to be able to carry you through a lot of different things in the game, especially Omega Rugal, considering the fact that in kind of endgame content, you'll be needing a blue attack type anyway. And him having that increases attack of all fighters by 45% leadership skill, that is really, really good for a new player. And of course, Orochi himself is really great as well. So, in my opinion, if you are a new player, if you just got into the game, you should go in on this. You should be using some of your rubies. At least go to pity once, in my opinion. And go ahead and try and get maybe a dupe or two for one of these guys. I think that there's a lot of value in that. You'll be able to get the stones as well, which will help you a ton. So yeah, new players, definitely this is worth. And really, with the cards considered in there too, again, if you're a new player, the amount of power you are going to get out of these two banners is kind of irreplaceable. You're definitely not going to get this kind of power here. Not in my opinion. Or at least you're not going to get it as easily as you would if you just jumped in on this. So that's my opinion if you're a new or a beginning player. What about us veterans? Well, guys, if you got any rubies left after 7 nights and you are not in fear of the February collab and not having enough rubies, then yeah, go for it. These guys are great. So for PvP, if you are a PvP player, yes, 100%, if you got the rubies, make the investment, go for these characters. This is a lot less of a steep investment for a PvP player than it is for a PvE-minded player, where we really need like 5 or 6 of these to get to the things we want to get through. But for a PvP player, you want one of these guys in a dupe. You can probably do that on one pity. My opinion on that is you 100% do that, because this is probably, you're looking at your new meta. Rudy, I'm sorry, you had your week, or 2-3 weeks, as it were. But yeah, you're going to want these characters because they are that good, they are that strong. You 100% should be going for these characters. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have the rubies, then I would say, put it this way, guys. You're looking at a banner that is a almost glorified whale banner. Not going to lie, this is almost a whale banner. If you don't have a stockpile of rubies or the ability to go in and pick up the packages, which we will talk about here in a moment, then yeah, I would probably pass and continue to save, because it is going to probably take you quite a bit of rubies to get what you need in order to get these guys to the awaken level you need. And therefore, unless you are getting really lucky, which I don't think anyone should ever bet on getting lucky when they go into pull, my opinion is if you can't go to pity, don't pull. So yeah, that is my opinion on that. If you are a veteran player, if you're a veteran and you already have all the 7 Nights characters and you are not necessarily PvP focused, then this is probably not going to make or break you in any way, shape, or form. At that point, it becomes a question of should you go in on the cards. And in my opinion, everyone can get value out of the cards. I think everyone should consider the cards. If you have the rubies to spare, I would at least consider going in. Like right now, it's basically 9,000 rubies to get a full pity. I think that's worth it. I think that's worth it for a lot of reasons. I think it's worth it because you could potentially get 2 of the 3 of this set and then be able to get the pity selector for the 3rd. You could go in and get lucky enough to get a couple of these and then maybe 1 or 2 of these. And yeah, it to me has the value for everyone in it. This to me is where it's kind of a no-brainer. I think that this card alone is extremely powerful. But if you really want something to help boost your damage scores in a lot of different dungeons, this card set is really great. So one thing to keep in mind with this card set, and I will show you guys this, is that this card set was actually added to the pool. And I will show you if I can get to it here. So if we go and scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and then go in here, it always takes this thing forever to load. Don't know why. I don't know what goes on with this. Alright, so if we go and we scroll, and we scroll, and we scroll, there's so many cards in this pool. That is why I am going to ultimately tell you it's probably not worth bothering with. But if you just keep going, you'll eventually get there. Whew, that took a while. So down here, you'll see, down at the bottom, and then if we scroll up here, boom, there you go. So these cards were added to this pool as well for the card dungeon. So you may get lucky and get these. I wouldn't bet on it, and I don't know if they're going to be taken out of it after these banners go away. I have no clue. So they are there though. So if you have a bunch of skip tickets, it might be worth it to try. I wouldn't recommend it though. I don't think the rates are good enough to even consider it. So that's my opinion, guys. TLDR is, if you're a new player or a beginner player and you missed the 7 Nights collab, this is invaluable, and yes, you should be going in for at least a pity. And then if you are a veteran player and you are considering this, really the bigger consideration is how many rubies do you have left after 7 nights. If you have enough to go to pity and you are a PvP player, 100% go for this. If you are a non-PvP player, you're probably mainly going to want Rugal, but Orochi is a great clock stopper and extremely powerful in his own right. So you have a decision to make there, and it's going to come down to your ruby pool. But I do think that a big consideration has to be made just solely based upon the fact that these cards are as strong as they are. So even if you're not going for the characters themselves, you may decide the cards are worth going in on. And I do think going to pity on the cards is probably a good idea, just to get the option card, maybe a couple copies, and if you get the set, then you're golden. But that is my opinion on the Boss Syndrome characters. They are ridiculously good, but they are not game-breaking. They didn't just completely turn the game over, ruin it, and everybody should go on the forum and scream. So, yeah. That's going to be it for me today, guys. We'll cover the rest of these updates in another video. This video is already way too long. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. And like I said, if we get to 300 subscribers by New Year's, then we will pull on these guys, and it'll be an epic celebration video. Peace.
Continue.